Hi, everybody. I am here with Michelle Sanchez. I have been a fangirl of this beautiful designer for so long, and I'm so excited to be able to look at her chart. Michelle, will you introduce yourself and your business?
Of course. So my name is Michelle Sanchez. I own a branding and web design studio called Baremade, and we work with female entrepreneurs who are in the coaching industry, who are creatives, and I also work with nonprofits as well. So we do a little bit of everything, but what really ties it together is the branding and our style essentially. Yeah, and I. Uh, I am the creative director. I am the lead designer as well. So I put on a lot of hats, and I do my own marketing. I do the strategy part. So yes, I do a lot of everything in there. And I run a team of a designer, a developer, and a project manager. So that's my spiel.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly the seat that you're in. And also managing a toddler too, right? Is that right?
Oh yes, and I'm a mom of a 3.5-year-old. So hashtag three-nager,
Oh,
because
God.
the threes it can be rough, but we're powering through. But it's all
Yeah.
good.
Mine
Yeah.
turns 3 at the end of the month, so
Oh my gosh! Yay!
yes. Um, so what kind of clarity are you what clarity are you looking for today? What is like a big challenge that maybe we can shed some light on to?
Of course. So I'm currently trying to find a way to step into more of a brand strategy and consulting role in my business. And I've also been interested in developing branding courses and design courses for entrepreneurs. So these are just big ideas that I've been playing with. So the struggle I'm having is, which one is the best for me? Which one should I pursue? Should I just keep doing consulting, or should I pursue, what's a best fit? If I should do the course route and do this one-to-many product.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pull up your chart. Have you ever seen your chart before?
I've I've read some things of my chart. I don't really know how to read my chart, but yeah, I mean, I've seen it before.
Got it. So does this look familiar to you?
I've seen this. I just have no idea what it means.
All right, great. So this is super exciting because I really enjoyed looking at your chart. People's charts are so different, and it's just amazing to just see, like, just like visually, like they're so beautiful to me. And all of the relationships, it's almost like music. So when you look at a chart, just like if you ever see other people's charts, the blue lines are kind of your favorable aspects, or aspects that are more harmonious, and red lines are more challenging aspects. But I don't like to think of them as like strengths and weaknesses and stuff, because just like in music or in life, usually the things that have the most challenge actually have the most energy, and it has a lot of, like, if you can work through those challenges or those things, it just is so much brighter and more beautiful. So we all have balances of these harmonious, and in astrology, I guess sometimes they're called discordant, but I don't like that word, things. And then also, one of the reasons I love astrology and design is, like, there's all these beautiful symbols. All of these inner symbols represent your planets. So the planets that we're going to really be paying attention today when we're doing this mini reading is your sun sign, which is the circle with the circle in it, which represents, in the way that I look at branding, it's kind of the core of your brand, like what you're innately great at, your values, how you're going to stand up in the world. And then I like to look at your moon sign, which sometimes in business we don't really talk about our inner brand, but I love to look at the inner brand, because this is what we need to feel emotionally secure to really thrive. And everybody has different needs. And so looking and being truthful with what our needs are and what our fears are, if we know what those things are, sometimes that helps us overcome challenges. The last kind of milestone that I like to use to plot kind of a brand and how we would do some strategy is I like to look at this ascendant. It's not a planet. Sometimes it's called a rising sign.
Okay.
Have you heard of that before?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. So your rising sign is the sign that was on the horizon, the eastern horizon, at the moment you took your first breath. And so it's this beautiful sign to me, just the symbolism of it, the sign that was rising at the time you took your first breath. And in astrology, we look at it as your outward brand. So this is the brand that faces your clients. This is the brand that your customers need you to be. So when we can balance and align like our core, like what we want to bring into the world, and kind of our interior life, when we balance that with what our clients really need from us, we can create this amazing, like multifaceted brand that's uniquely us, and we don't have to like try to copy or compete with anybody because nobody else has this chart.
That's great.
Yeah, so it gets super excited about this. So your sun sign is in Leo, in playful Leo. Leo is a fiery sign. It's a super creative sign. It's a royal sign. It's exuberant and elegant and just all those things. If you can just imagine a lion with its mane just being and having fun on the savannah. It's all those things, very fiery. And so what this tells me is that at the core of your brand, and of course your secret sauce, is creativity. And as an amazing designer, your designs are just stunning and gorgeous. I can see that there with your sun in Leo. And what's super interesting about your sun, you can see it's here in your 12th house. The 12th house is the last house of the zodiacs, or that's a little bit too deep for what we're going to go through today, but it's in the sign of Leo. And so you also have both Mars and Venus in a stellium. A stellium is when you have three or more planets in one sign or one house. Okay. So this puts extra emphasis in that sign. So with Mars is your planet of like activity and energy, it like really energizes. And then Venus is the house of like values and material possessions. And just kind of like your security. So thinking about that, all of these things are close to each other. They're also like empowering each other. So this just gives you extra energy around creativity, extra energy about creating a beautiful home, or online homes as you do for people. How does that feel? How does that sound? Does that resonate to you a little bit?
Yeah, it does. Yes, absolutely.
And then you have this beautiful trine to your moon sign here. Now your moon sign is actually very, very interesting. This like we talked about, your ascendant here is at this line that faces east. It's kind of opposite. This line on the left is actually east. And then you have your midheaven. This is another important angle. And then you have this descendant line. And so this descendant line, or the opposition of your midheaven, you can think of your midheaven as your destiny, but your moon is opposite that. And what this looks like, because it's on this very important angle, it's extra empowered. It looks like there's something in your emotional landscape that's kind of probably stemming from maybe when you were young, that might be a little bit of challenge for you, that you're still like, that you're still that will be a lifelong thing for you to be working over. But your moon is in Sagittarius, okay? Because it's in this weird, challenging position, it's almost like this karmic position, but it's in Sagittarius, which is super expansive and super optimistic, and like just this harbinger of philosophy and kind of travel, like even travel to far off places, but also travel to like deep unknown places. And so when I look at like the inner brand, I look at like what do you need to feel secure in your interior life to like really make you feel that you're doing great in the world. And so I'm guessing you have a lot of education and a lot of travel. That's something that you really love doing. Does that sound like something for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would love to do more travel, but yeah, I do have some experience traveling to a few countries, and but it's just something that I want to keep doing. I just never got the chance to do more of, So
Yeah, I think that like even like if you're not physically traveling, however you can think about like um
I
expanding
mean, I
the world.
I see it in a way too. Like I love languages. I love learning different languages. So I feel like that may have something to do with it, like expanding my horizons a little bit and just learning about other cultures. It's really something that I'm interested in as well. So
Yes, for sure. And then also in the third house, there's significance also in the third house. The third house is about communications, if you can imagine.
yeah.
So there's definitely a filter there. So like as long as you're always expanding in the way that you're communicating, I think is like a really secure place for you. Like that's where
Mm,
you really feel at home and where you feel comfortable and secure.
okay.
Um, so I don't know if there's any clues also, like if there's any kind of like things that like maybe you picked up when you were really young, maybe some self-doubt. That there's a little clue there for me. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there's something there about a challenge that you had when you were very young that may be still holding you back. I'm not sure.
Oh yes, like you're pretty much, yeah, you're right. Like I mean, obviously this is like therapy.
Yeah.
These
Isn't business all therapy?
I know, right? But yeah, there have been things in my childhood that, like the separation between my parents that really did affect me, and just sort of feeling, in that space where like I didn't really belong in either or's family. So yeah, I still feel some of that as well. I don't think I've ever really gotten over that. Honestly, so it's definitely something I have to work on for sure. But yes, you're right.
Well, I think why it comes up in your chart later and why I talk about it, it's not like that we have to like get over it. It's that we have to like get comfortable with it and
Mm.
learn from its gifts.
Mm.
Because oftentimes those wounds are our biggest gifts.
Yeah, and I can totally see that because I really do take almost an opposite approach to what my parents did when I raising my son.
Yes.
So I can definitely see how that has sort of given me the advantage to really kind of dedicate myself to parenting, and kind of really putting a lot of effort in that area in my life.
And that parenting and the way that you guide maybe your child, that has something to do with your personal brand. And like what can you learn, what can you bring in from that kind of parental nurturing role that you're looking to grow through and heal, that you can bring into your business? I,
Hmm.
I know that seems like really like far out wackadoodle.
Yeah, no, I haven't really thought about that though, but that's a great point. It's definitely something I should think about for
Yeah,
sure.
I think that there's something special there. And like just with the moon in Sagittarius, I'm also moon in Sagittarius, but it's in a different placement. But I also love the expansiveness. And the funny thing about Sagittarius moons that I found to be true is that we need to be loved.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
It's like
not
this.
right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like I love, I need that sort of like, validation almost. It's weird.
Yeah, the approval and the
That
validation.
approval. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
yeah, everybody needs that, but like Sagittarius moons like really need it.
Really. Well, good thing we're creatives because, that really does, kind of help in
Yeah.
getting those compliments.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because sometimes the
Oh,
compliments don't come and you're like, what did I do?
no. Yeah. What did I do wrong?
Or taking like little things too seriously.
Yes, for sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
and so now the rising sign, I think, is going to give you some insight to the questions that you've been asking specifically about
Okay.
how to grow and what direction to go. So your rising sign here is it's in Virgo. And so Virgo is an earthy sign, super practical, very analytical, also creative in a different way than creative, in meaning that she can like manifest things, whereas like the Leo is like to have fun and create and play. Virgo is a little more serious in her creativity. She's very much a motherly type, almost to the point where she can also be a martyr a little bit and put her needs last. But when I look at the ascendant, this is like your outwardness. This is like when people see you and when they interact with your personal brand, they're seeing the Virgo-ness of you.
Okay.
Yeah, but because Virgo is she's all about strategy also, and nurturing, analytic, and able to go like really deep and manifest things.
Okay.
So I was looking at your site and like you talk about strategic branding. And so what does strategic mean to you?
Strategic to me means intentional. Mostly intentional, where we're not just creating something pretty, we're creating something pretty with a purpose, so I always start with a strategy session, like a long strategy session with clients, where we base off all of our designs from, right? So we think of all of their kind of like what you do, but in a different, I think more in a pragmatic way, I guess, where we just sort of kind of extract all of these different brand attributes. We talk through their like ideal client, talk about awareness and stuff like that. So and then from there we start getting creative. We start playing with shapes and stuff, but we always kind of stay true to the creative brief. So for me, like, that part is extremely important before I start any project, because then I feel like I'm kind of like left with like, I'd rather be in a box, you know what I mean? Like, rather than outside of a box, not having any direction, and just sort of like words coming out of my client's mouth that they think that they need. So
Right.
that's basically.
Do you also do, besides like the analysis of like the client and their needs, do you also do like external analysis, like in the kind of like for either their competition or any other like deeper dive in research?
Yeah, so we do research. We do a lot of research with their ideal client profile, as well as like their industry and trends and competition. So yeah, we definitely dive deep into that as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that you can expand upon. I
Okay.
think I think for the way that I'm looking at brands and like this ascendant is like, okay, so you know who your ideal client is, like the women entrepreneurs and nonprofits and stuff. But what your ideal clients then need from you when they're looking for like the Virgo person is that they're looking for somebody who's super analytical, who's going to be able to really go deep with them. And so instead of just creating like this beautiful brand, how really are they going to stand out in the marketplace if they're in a competitive field
Okay.
with the research that backs it up?
Okay.
Like, that's something very Virgo.
Yeah.
What does that strike a chord with anything? Or
Yeah. I mean, we do some research, but I guess not in depth enough. But yeah, no, I definitely see how that definitely strikes a chord. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and then I'm also seeing like just with the Virgo, because Virgo is like just so thorough, so just a lot of observation, a lot of intellect, a lot of like writing. Virgo is a sign that is ruled by Mercury for
Okay.
communications. And so, your Mercury is in Pisces, no, sorry, Cancer. He's right here. And Mercury, the communications, also Cancer is an emotional sign. So
Okay.
thinking about when you're creating communications, how can you bring more emotion into that? So like, how can you combine a little bit of the analytical with a little bit of the emotional?
Okay. And you mean in the strategy?
Yeah, in your strategy, but in your messaging about how you're
My
talking about
messaging.
strategy. Like,
Right.
what does the strategy mean
Oh,
to you,
okay.
right? To really clarify that strategy.
Yeah.
Because strategy means so many different things to so many different people.
Right, right, right.
But like, what's your secret sauce that you put onto the strategy that enables your style to be guided, to create this like something, to distill into something that's so much bigger than what the little words on the paper are?
Yeah. So you said analytical with emotional, right?
Yes.
This is great. Thank you.
Sure. I wanted to also talk about a little bit of just kind of like your elemental strengths. You've probably done the strengths assessor, right? Because in our group we're
This Strength finders?
yeah, strength finders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so to me, like the like astrology is like a little bit like of a hack, because we can also see it here. I don't know if
Ooh,
you can see this tiny little grid here, but
yeah.
this is a grid of your qualities and your elements. So there are 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. Fire is like activity and inspiration, and air is communications and intellect and thinking. Earth is like just like the practicality and like creation in terms of like manifestation, like bringing like the practical way of bringing something into the world. And then water is like the emotional self, like the ability to feel. And
Okay.
so you can see that you have a gazillion planets all up in fire.
Does that mean I'm like super temperamental or something? Like, what
Uh,
is this?
some fiery
No patience.
people can have a little bit of anger. Not everybody, but it's just there's a lot of energy. That's what it's saying.
Okay.
A lot of
Okay.
energy, a lot of inspiration. And you have you have a little bit of earth, the practicality, and you have a little bit of water, which is great because at least your Mercury is very strong and it's in water, but you don't have anything in air. So what these two symbols are in air are not planets, but they're kind of like points in your, excuse me, oh, sorry. They're points in this little key thing is called Chiron. It's kind of a karmic symbol. It's asking us like, it's kind of giving us like our lesson in life, which sounds kind of dire. I don't like Chiron gives me troubles whenever I find Chiron in my chart at certain places. And then the MC is this ascendant line here, this line going up, which is your midheaven. This is your destiny. Okay. So when I see both Chiron and your midheaven, they're both in this air sign of Gemini. And that's really the only air you have in your sign. And air is about communications and social networking and like and getting your vision out there. So I see a
I
little bit.
struggle with that. I struggle with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can tell. I think if you had built systems for next year that will help you with social and like just, building the systems for when you don't feel like the leader, but you still have to lead,
Okay.
right? So bulk planning your content or hiring it out, like just get it done. So like
Yeah.
the questions that you had about like what are you going to do with your business next year, should you like with your choices, right? Think about what we learned, right, about like it's 80% marketing and 20% creation.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to market the thing, do you want to build it? Or the other way to look at it is like, okay, if I'm going to build this thing, who am I going to hire out to market it for me?
Oh, okay.
I saw the look of
Okay.
fear in your face.
It just kind of like, you know, just shows that what I've been thinking and what I feel about myself is totally true. Where I'm more of a private person. I don't like being on social media much. And I also have a hard time sort of putting myself out there, you know? But yeah, it's definitely, I need to like automate social media and like, I don't know, find someone to take care of all of that marketing stuff because I am terrible.
Yeah, I mean, social media is actually a really great place for introverts, because it enables you to do the socializing without actually really like getting out there.
Yeah.
You just have to make a decision to do it. And because Chiron is there, kind of like this karmic thing, this lifelong lesson that you need to learn. To me, what this tells me is that if you can master the art of communication or master the systems of getting out there and socializing and networking, you're going to find great success.
Okay. Just got to do the work for sure.
You just got to create the systems.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't have to do the work. You just have to create the system for it to happen.
Okay. I have to do the work to create the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe the work is only like finding this great like social media, outsourcing person that's just going to like take care of it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, this
all
is
your
great
promo.
insight.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's what I see here.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So what does it mean about having all those planets in a fire thing?
It means that you have a lot of energy. It means that you have a lot of inspiration. Gosh, I have this. Oh, awesome. It's right here. It's called The Missing Element by Deborah Silverman. This book is all about, and I opened up right to it. How is that? The story of fire. So basically, fire people can't explain their psychic abilities or their urge to be self-destructive. They're extremely perceptive and outspoken, and these two qualities can get them into trouble. But it sounds like you're not really putting yourself out there enough to do that.
Right.
Let's see. I don't know. There might be some like Virgo-ness that's kind of like grounding your little bit of fire. So let's see. Let me see if I can pick up anything in here real quick. Well, see, this is a little bit like, this might be something for you to learn and like accept. If you have a generous amount of fire, like you, having the courage to stand out without being self-conscious will make it easier to gain respect and fulfillment.
Okay.
That was written for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, basically. Oh, this is so good. I love this.
Oh, yay. Yeah. So, the strengths of fire, the ability to be generous, lots of life force, natural charisma, knack for attracting people in circumstances that are beneficial, can be fearless, a magnetic force field that attracts exactly what is needed in the nick of time. And that's like a Sagittarius thing too, because your moon in Sagittarius is ruled by the planet of Jupiter, which is the planet of luck. There's, to me, like there's just like all this optimism, like maybe deep down things are going to work out no matter what, right?
Yeah, it's such a strange thing because I've told this to like a lot of, well, mostly my therapist, but I've told this to people where I've always found myself in situations where for some reason something inside me pulls me out of it, like in bad relationships, in hard times with my business, financially, for example, and I, for some magical reason, I'm able to pull myself out of it emotionally, or or something happens or something comes to me that helps me, last week I lost a client, for example, and 2 weeks ago I lost a client, and I said, okay, well, now I just need one branding package to finish my year. And that same week I got a client for my exact branding package for the exact amount I needed. So I definitely can see it in my life, to be honest. Like things that just happen in the nick of time that just like save my ass,
Yeah,
honestly.
it'll always work out for you.
Yeah. It's good to know.
Yeah. So do you want to take a look at your website and see how we might be able to align it a little bit?
Absolutely.
All right. So remember, like in the Astro branding framework that we have, it's like we're combining your values of and your like need to be creative and playful, like that's your like your at your core, right? And then with your emotional needs to be expansive, and then balancing that all with to your the rising sign with your client's need for you to be super practical and dependable and strategic and analytical, right?
Okay.
So how and then also with your Mercury in Cancer, Cancer, which is very emotional. So yeah, I think you could be a lot more emotional here with your opening headline. There's the design is just beautiful and gorgeous. And I think it's a really good balance of practical and playful because it's very grounding with the blue, the deep blue and the nice kind of sand color, like kind of the warm stone color. So that's Virgo for sure, practical and grounding. And then how can we bring a little bit more playful energy and emotion to it? So strategic, I think it's in the messaging that it needs to be aligned better. Strategic branding and refined design for creative coaches and purposeful businesses.
Okay.
I would define strategic in a way that is very unique to you. And also talking about the emotional side of design, right? Because all of your designs in your portfolio here, they're very they evoke fun, they evoke balance and clarity, they evoke you're emotionally visually representing the emotions that these clients that you have here. So how can you do that for yourself?
Okay.
Always easier said than done.
Oh yes, absolutely. I feel like I'm the worst. I'm my worst client.
Yeah, me too. I had a web design business for like a gazillion years, and I probably out of the 16 years that I've had my business, I think I've only had like 1 year that I actually liked my website.
This is the longest I've ever actually liked my own branding and site. Yeah, this is the first time.
Nice. I think it's super aligned. Yeah, like the colors, it's grounding, and you even have this like underline on the B. Again, like even just kind of like this subliminal message of grounding and like just manifestation. So you got it, girl.
Thank you.
Sure. I hope that was helpful. Do you have any other?
Oh my God, absolutely. No, not really. I feel like this is a lot of fun and extremely helpful, especially in the way that I am putting my message out there. I think that's where I struggle a lot in how to put myself out there, how to put my message out there without having to create something pretty, you know what I mean? Like actually using words and actually talking to the camera and saying something that, really matters to me is difficult for me. So I could always make a pretty graphic. I could always take a pretty picture, but it's so hard for me to like explain it, So
Right. Yeah.
I think this was really helpful. Absolutely. And that's definitely something I have to work on for sure.
Yeah. So your homework, if you want, look up Mercury in Cancer.
Okay.
Mercury in Cancer in the 11th house.
Mercury in Cancer.
Mm-hmm. And in the 11th house, and see if there's any insights that come to you that can give you some tips on how to communicate, to strengthen your communications. And then remember to set up some systems for your social networking.
Systems. Oh yes, that would be very helpful. Thank you. You're amazing. I love this.
Oh, thank you. You're so welcome. This is such a delight to get to read the charts of everybody in the group. So this is so much fun.
Yeah, I think this is better than like the Strength Finders test. It's like so fun. I love it.
It's more fun for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Michelle. I can't wait to chat with you soon again.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.